So can you please state your name, your major, and your hometown?
Well, my name is Ben Barlow, and I am a finance major, and I am from San Antonio, Texas. And I guess I don't really have a hometown, actually, if I think about it, because I've moved around so many times.
Do you want to tell us a little bit more about that?
I can tell you all the places I've lived. Well, it's not that many, actually.
Tell us.
But it's, I don't know. I feel like each time I moved, it like kind of uprooted me, and then it was like the perfect amount of time to like make friends, settle in the community, and then it's like you're gone.
Do you think that's helped with you making new friends coming to college?
You know, I've heard about phenomenon where it's the opposite. Like you're so used to being like temporary friends that the friendships you make aren't real. But the friendships I've made here are so real. So I guess that's good. But maybe back in Texas, like honestly, like I have friends when I like go back for break, like over Christmas, like I'm hanging out with friends, but I don't know. I don't know if we're talking theologically. It's just like we're just kind of shooting the shit, and it's like
the surface level friendships.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. It's complicated. I guess some of them are. Yeah.
Out of all the places you've lived, where do you feel you've made the biggest connection to?
Oh, probably here, honestly. Which is, yeah, it's nice to say. I don't know what will happen after I go back because it's like, I don't know if I plan to stay here. I love California, but it's so expensive and I don't have any job offers.
What's your plan after college?
Well,
finance major.
Finance major, you can sure do a lot. And I guess a lot of people have an expectation on what they're going to do when they graduate because finance is such a big field. You kind of have to find your niche. And I haven't found my niche yet. And I'm just like throwing everything out and just whatever sticks, I'll be there.
I think that's a really good course of action, actually, because how else are you supposed to figure things
Yeah,
out?
I like wealth management. I like the field that Nick's in. It's a little less high pressure than some of the other fields, and you have to be personal, but you're not like, I don't know, it's not being like personal like a way in investment banking where it's almost superficial and it's almost aggressive and it's your entire life and you live and breathe.
Do you think any classes you've taken at Pepperdine have like contributed to your want to work in wealth management, or is that like personal?
It's a lot personal. It's a lot of the people I meet. I spent a couple of days at it was an investment bank over the summer. It was Morgan Stanley, San Francisco. And I really enjoyed it, to be honest, because I was in like the wealth management part and then they shuffled me around. Like it was calling it a big favor from a friend of mine who has a good position, just basically in the team there, other wealth management, and they're in the field called private wealth management. And so they're their own little group with their own autonomy within a large bank. And they pulled in their own individual clients, and PWM is what they abbreviate to, and they just try to attract high wealth clients. One of them, I was talking to like a new hire who I was like, because it's a small group and there are only so many young people. And so I was like, okay, well, so how did you get the job here, and how can I do exactly what you did? And it's funny. He
That's
went.
our question exactly.
Exactly. Yeah.
So he went to Duke, and I think he was an econ major, and so I'm like, okay, Duke, great school, econ, that's interesting, and it just seemed like he ended up here. Basically, he spun it. He worked for the basketball team. He worked like the game clock, where you set the score and everything.
At Duke.
And their basketball team's really good,
Insanely good.
And so essentially, he went from just working the game clock to working with the team, and he had a close relationship with the coach, and so he was able to basically use like his econ degree to run statistics on new recruits coming in out of high school. And
did they pay him for that?
I actually am not sure, but it was great experience because, of course, he loves basketball and he grew really close with the team. And so some of these players, Duke basketball is unbelievable. They stay in touch. he gets a gig at Morgan Stanley. Some of his friends are in the NBA now. He pulls in. He has the biggest like client book out of anyone there. It's funny, which because some of the people in PWM were like I think I'm a numbers person. Like when I think about finance, I'm like I love finance, and then we love DSP, but then I go to DSP and I'm like, I don't know about all that. You know, if you catch it. Not that's just another skill that people have, and he definitely was on that end of the spectrum. And so that kind of tells me that there's roles for everyone that's interested in finance. There's kind of a space for you. You just have to find it.
Tell us something that surprised you at your internship when you were working at Morgan Stanley.
Oh, well, I wasn't working there. I was more just gaining experience there and just kind of being shuffled around and interviewing as many people as I possibly could who had time in their day. And I can tell you about the other places I visited. I went to like stock trading floor and bond trading floor, which I wasn't even aware of that they'd have just at this casual office in downtown San Francisco. And it was really cool. I mean, the people there love their job. I'm sure they're making great money. But in another sense, like I think you'd make less in the PWM, which is a little bit more lax. You're more like consulting, like the people downstairs to make the trades for you, and you're dealing face to face with the client. But on the bond trading floor, it's like you're looking at like city municipal bonds, and you're just reading. This is how much they cost. Here's the rating. Click buy. And it's also like you're dealing with millions of dollars. And I remember one guy telling me, he's like, yeah, I missed a zero in this. I'm over. I'm cooked. I'm out of here. And I'm just like, oh wow, that's so interesting. But you're just putting in trades all day, and I'm like, yeah, this is cool, but doing this for my entire life, it's kind of a crazy job. I'm sure there's someone that wants to do it. Actually, I'm sure a lot of people would love to do it. But yeah, it was almost dehumanizing in a way. I know it's weird to hear from like a finance person because we're expected like work in Excel all day, but I don't know. It was a different environment. And then I got to see another different side, which was venture capital, and he called it like growth capital. It was a stage like in between where it wasn't like an infancy of a company. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't like a mature company that private equity is picking up, but it's like in between there. And he believes that's where like it's this guy, Pete Chang for recording, who works at Morgan Stanley there. And he went to Stanford. He's like a genius. And basically he picks up companies kind of at this mid-growth stage that he believes have like good roots. And he also just has an eye for it. And he's got a whole team, and they all have their own skills. And yeah, they make really smart trades, and they outperform basically everyone. I think they're one of the top performers in the country. So that was like cool to like, I don't know, just talk with the guy and give him ideas of just what he likes, what he doesn't like. And he also, you know, I remember exactly what he told me, because he basically told me, he's like, I walked in there, and he's not a flashy guy. He's not a crazy guy. He's not like an investment banker, but he's like, no, I know you've heard a lot of stuff today, but I just want to tell you one thing. Don't trust anybody here. I was like, what? He's like, don't trust the lingo, because there's a lot of lingo. They're always trying to trip you up on the terminology if you're not familiar with, which I mean, because it's very highly particular to each little section in the bank. And honestly, he also told me the biggest returners, he was saying the people posting the biggest returns, I should trust the very least, which is funny because that's coming from him. But he's like, and this is the same thing Professor Feng was saying, actually, which is kind of interesting. He just thinks good fundamentals, good, not a flashy degree, not something you say. It's more like a thesis about what you do. Which is what is important. You shouldn't let someone like, just because they're a slick talker, you shouldn't let them trick you in to handle their money, you know, because, I mean, a lot of people do that. Mm-hmm. And I guess that's the way funds get misappropriated.
So they intentionally try to mess you up?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's like, say you're a wealthy family and you need someone to take care of your money, and there's this guy with this Harvard degree, and he seems super professional. You've never met anyone more accomplished in their life, and he can promise you, let's say the S&P made 10% this year, he can promise you 20. And Pete basically said, don't take those promises. You should be in it for the long haul. You shouldn't be in for a quick buck. Which is interesting to hear. He basically said don't trust anybody. So I just thought that was so interesting that I realized that.
I don't know if you talked about this while I was doing technical stuff, but did you talk about like when you started your internship?
And I wouldn't even call it that professional of an internship because, well, yeah, I guess it was an internship, but it wasn't me like. When I think internship, I'm like me shoveling, like doing the dirty work. But I really wasn't doing that. I kind of got like.
Isn't that a good thing?
Well, yeah, it was a great experience.
You got paid for it, right?
Did I get paid for it?
Yeah.
No.
Oh.
No.
So
no.
it's more like shadowing.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
I think that's more effective than an internship sometimes, though, because internships is sometimes just like busy work.
Mm-hmm.
When you're shadowing someone, you're actually observing and learning and hearing more stuff that's useful
I
to
100% agree.
What was cool is because that building was gigantic, and I went to, I don't know, like 10 different floors, just meeting people, and it was so exhausting because I had to keep the same like smile from like 8 to 5 for a couple days, and then
is that of a sales aspect that you like had to put up that smile like
oh yeah, and that's
face.
important. So I feel like I push myself hard enough. I think I can do the speaking thing. It's just it doesn't come natural. But I 100% learned where my niche is there and what is not my niche. Although I think you like say like my major is finance. I want to be in this. I want to be in alternative investments. That was like one of those like standout, really cool. But I don't even know if I'm like smart enough. I think you work hard enough towards like achieving a goal like that. If you want to work in alternative investments, you could do it.
So was that, I know you talked about a brokerage. Was that one of the experiences you had that was like, I need to stay out of this field. This field is not for me.
Yeah, the expansion capital thing, that was actually really sick. That was private equity and venture capital. And
don't they say those two give you like the most leniency of work-life balance?
That's probably right. I guess it depends which company you're working for. Some of them take it so seriously. I guess it just depends if you're at like a leading firm that's trying to, like that one in particular. I think if you're a rookie, you're probably working long hours. But he seemed like he was living quite comfortably. Most of those people lived in the cities and had, which like if you know San Francisco, like that's kind of unusual, I guess. Or some of them commuted from like East Bay, North Bay, south of town, but.
I don't know if San Francisco's commute is as bad as LA's. Is
No,
it?
I mean it has public transportation.
Yeah.
Has the BART. Actually, in fact, one of these guys who led the PWM group, he was kind of like co-chair. He purposely commuted every day on the BART in the morning and at night. But that's kind of insane if you've ever been on the BART because
isn't it dangerous?
It's very dangerous.
Yeah.
But he's like a very, very like well-to-do guy, so it's just interesting. But he just believes in it, so I'm like, okay, that's really cool.
I mean, he is also a man, so.
Well, yeah, there's another
else.
thing. Yeah, but he's like an old guy, so it's almost like I don't know.
He'd also be a target.
Yeah, you know, he could get roughed up for sure.
Oh.
I mean, anybody's. I don't know. We don't even gotta get into it. Maybe that's not.
Maybe we're going into a different section right now.
But yeah, I'm trying to think more.
If you had any advice to give to college students, anyone who's like venturing out into their profession or trying to get an internship, what would it be?
I guess seeing I have friends that have jobs after college and those that don't, and actually it's a wide margin because I don't know, I don't think it's like the most appealing job market. But I will say if for the people, and I scoffed at it like maybe my sophomore and junior year because I was like, well, I'm not like them. I don't want to do that, and I'm not crazy. But you meet those people even here at school that are like, for instance, some of the Morgan Stanley guys put me in touch with a student at UCLA. His name's Kyler, and he's head of the UCLA hedge fund.
Wow.
And he is like one of the most impressive people I've ever met. And in the moment, I'm thinking like, because their acceptance, he's like, yeah, our acceptance is like less than 1%. And I'm like, well, this kid's the head of it? That's crazy. But he was so like calm and chill and like whatever. He was just like another one of us. But you could tell he gave everything his 100%. So I would say like, if you're like, have your mind set to doing something, then just give it your 100% and it'll work out. It's like, what do they call it? Manifestation. I mean, it's 100% real. So I'd say that's what I have. And a lot of that's in finance particularly, which this, at first I thought it like makes me uncomfortable. Really, it's not uncomfortable. It just takes a lot of work. Networking with people, meeting as many people as possible, which was what this kid Kyler like loved to do. And he was working investment bank his freshman like summer.
Wow.
Which I've never even heard of that. And he was like, yeah, I'd never heard of that either. But
how did he do it? Did he tell you?
He kicked some ass. I don't know. And no, he was
cold applying.
Yeah.
Coffee chats.
Yeah. No. Actually, I think like his family is like also, they're also kind of in that space. But he didn't want any handouts, and so he just did it all himself. And so he lived maybe in Marin, I want to say, which is north of town. And he was working in Menlo Park, which is in Silicon Valley, and just did that all himself. Morgan Stanley, Menlo Park.
Cracked resume.
Yeah. But I don't know. You meet those people here that are like, yeah, I've met 1,000 people on LinkedIn, and some of it's fake. Some of it's, yeah, I don't know. You're only going that half step to like,
making actual connections.
Yeah, making actual connections. But if you're meeting these people and these people notice it's a genuine interaction and see that you're bright and motivated and you want to do things, then they'll send you on the right way. I think that's and so yeah, that's my advice, is just be conscious, make conscious decisions and be motivated.
I love it. Okay.
And I don't know if I'm doing all of that right now because I feel like school takes up so much time, and then friends take up so much time, hobbies take up so much time.
Just have to find that balance.
You have to find the balance, and different people prioritize different things. So, like, I don't expect myself to be working investment. In fact, I knew right out of the gate going to Pepperdine, I'm not working investment bank. Is that a cool gig in theory? Yes. Do I want / understand / like what it takes, like all the sacrifices you have to make? Like, no. Realistically, no. You can make, and people are like, well, it pays off later in life, and it might set you up in the door for, but immediately, like working management, for instance, it's the same gig. You just want to kind of send yourself to the, Kyler had the insane schedule. If he was just telling me those summers, it's just 80, 90, 100-hour work weeks.
Wow.
He's just like, and he would like shower, eat, do everything at the office. And it was like a team of like, yeah, pretty small like crew of, other people his age.
So sell yourself to the job kind of situation.
Yeah. And I think you meet enough people, you learn enough, you're qualified. You just got to be knowledgeable enough. Yeah, I think that's right.
I would say you definitely gave us like a new perspective for like investment banking. I don't know. I just feel like it's something that's very much romanticized by a lot of kids our age.
Well, you want to know what he was doing all day? It was just creating presentation and like slide decks, but he showed me how to make presentation slide decks. They are unbelievable, but he spends so long on them. He spends forever, and it's basically like investment banks are offering like companies for sale, and they have to market these companies, and so he has to convince you should buy a stake into this company, and here's why. and he's pretty convincing.
Yeah.
Like, okay, when he was a freshman, which he's a year older than me, I don't know, this must have been 4 years ago or so, he had a pitch on NVIDIA, and it was unbelievable. If you look at I actually have, like, it is what except if I wanted to model it perfectly, it would take me forever. But I look over his presentations whenever I'm writing any presentation because I'm like, I just have to, which is nice. I feel like you surround yourself with people like that enough. And honestly, like, he was telling me, like, oh, I get the presentations from such and such, and you know, the people in his club, I think especially motivate him, which makes sense. I think you surround yourself with enough of these people, and you kind of, and I think people at Pepperdine are like-minded, but I don't think like we're not a target school. I don't think like the IBs are like setting up in a lawn chair outside, like wanting to, you know? So it's kind of a different crowd. So if you wanted to do that route, you'd have to start finding your own clique. And for sure there's a handful of people here, but really I think that would come from developing professional relationships and mentors outside of school.
For sure. Well, thank you so much for taking some time out of your day and being our first guest.
Of course, it's my pleasure.
We were actually very happy to start this project with a friend or someone who's actually not alumni, which I think would also be a good way to continue this podcast. I don't think we should limit it to alumni.
No,
and
it brings
people
in different perspectives, which is important.
People who are still working towards like that future goal.
Yeah.
And then in addition to people who have already reached their target goal
For sure.
post-grad. But yeah, I think if you'd like to join us again next week to talk to Mr. Williamson, who will probably be our first alumni interview, we would love to have you back.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I have a perfect window if it's at the same time.
Yeah,
then
we'll
that's-
probably schedule it now,
Yeah.
depending on Nick's work schedule.
Okay.
If he can take some time off for us. But yeah, it'll be good.
Just let me know.
Well, thank you so much,
Thank you
everyone,
so
for
much.
joining us. This was the EZR Podcast. See you next week.
Thank you.